Now, we typically think of feedback as teachers giving it to kids. We write on their papers, do this better. We mark something right, we mark something wrong. We tell them how they might do better with the assignment. But in this case, it's extremely powerful to watch kids give feedback back to the teacher and how empowering that is for the kids. I will tell you that this is one very good way to help build those professional relationships between teachers and students.
Hi, I'm Jason Leahy, Executive Director of the Illinois Principals Association. Appreciate you sitting in for this IPA talk, and it's a little bit of a special IPA talk. It's an ELN or Ed Leaders Network edition. So I'd like to welcome Judy Bruner for being here with me. Appreciate that, Judy. You've got quite a history and experience in education as general, so can you just share your background with us a little bit?
I'm happy to. I will tell you, I'm just the luckiest person on the planet. I have had the real privilege of teaching elementary students, teaching high school students, serving as an elementary principal, then a middle school principal, then a high school principal, and then a principal of a K-12 laboratory school at Missouri State University. But what keeps me grounded is I work with anywhere from 10 to 15 student teachers every semester. So I go out there and I'm still in real classrooms with real teachers watching what's going on. I'm watching the people that really pull the weight.
So Judy, just to pivot now to what we want to talk a little bit about and why we're sitting in this setting. So you've today, a bit earlier, we're doing some recording, or was doing some recording related to this project you've been working with us on, restorative practices for kids. Can you just kind of set up for us what's going on with this? Maybe what got you started in looking at something like restorative practices and what we're trying to do here?
I've been around for a long time now, and I will tell you that of all the things I've been involved in, these restorative practices and this kind of a mindset in terms of working with kids is one of the most exciting things I've seen in a long time. You know, after an unfortunate incident where somebody's been suspended or disciplined, making certain that there's a process to re-engage them back into the school setting, to make sure they feel welcome. It's a horrible feeling in life to really think, I'm not wanted here. And I think sometimes that's an unintended message that we give to kids. So this whole idea of really listening to what students have to say, trying to restore a relationship first, it doesn't negate the fact that there may be consequences. Of course there may be consequences. School needs to be predictable. But we restore the relationship first, then we look over at what the consequences may or may not be.
I think it really helped me go from the beginning of the situation and think through my actions really and how they affected Serena and not only just me. And especially because one of the questions specifically was who has been affected by what you have done, and even my counselor asked me who else besides Serena. I think not only will it strengthen the bond between the people who are involved, but it'll set an example for everyone else.
We thought that we could just pound it into these kids. We would have solved it a long time ago. It's not that simple. It never has been. And these students in today's educational environment, they want a voice. They have a voice. I had a voice back in the old days, but nobody really wanted to hear what I had to say. Right. But it's better now. So let's show the kids that we really do respect them as individuals. We appreciate their civil rights, and we're going to give them their civil rights, and we're going to listen to what they have to say. And I think when we do that, how can you help but make school a better place for everybody? I think it'll also help with teacher longevity. You know, when the environment is positive and kids are learning, teachers are going to come back for more. And we always know in our profession, we lose good people each and every year because they just get frustrated. Well, I think this is one of the tools that we can have in our bag that can really make education better for everybody.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see, because I know along with you, our team went in and we got some real serious, real instances in real time of things that were happening. So can you talk to us a little bit about what people are going to see?
Sure. We've put together 3 different courses. One course with the more traditional, the counselor role with restorative conferences, and people can see how counselors have facilitated resolving conflict among kids. We've also expanded over into the extracurricular arena because, particularly at the secondary school, you'll have conflict with cheerleaders. You may have, yes, you may have conflict with among athletic teams. Yeah. Then we also have some video footage that I'm really excited about, and that's using this class meeting format for an academic lesson. And that was really fun to film and to watch.
You talk about students being more engaged in that particular setting. How do students usually respond when you put them in a circle as opposed to when they're in the more traditional pods or traditional seating in a classroom?
They are very social, so it's interesting. You would think that when they're in a circle, they're all sitting by each other, and you would think they might be, more talkative, but that seems to be the opposite. It seems that when they are in the circle, they just seem more focused, and they can also see everyone. So it's not just me that has everyone's eyes. They also can see everyone's face, and I think it's just when someone speaks, they can easily see that person.
When you think about the right kind of mindset when it comes to restorative practices, what would you be encouraging school leaders as well as teachers to be thinking about?
I think there are ways that we can put situations in motion where we really do listen to what kids have to say. It's very important, and one of the things that I see maybe that we're not doing as good a job with is making sure that everybody really understands how this process works. Because in the unfortunate situation where you have conflict between maybe an adult and students, and you want to bring them together to restore that relationship because it needs to be there. Well, if the adults in the educational setting don't really understand how this process works, it would be very easy to become defensive or to try to justify what you've done. And sometimes, it's not that anybody's pointing a finger that you did something incorrectly. It's how can we put this back together again and make sure that people really can hear what the other one has to say.
Yeah. So, when you think about restorative practice, what maybe are misconceptions that people have about it that it is just not true when they think of the term restorative practice? Like kids are getting away with things, right? That might be an obvious one. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, the most obvious is that there are just no consequences for this. Well, what are you going to do with the scope and sequence? We have the handbook here, we have definitions, we have consequences, and it needs to be predictable. And I'm not saying that's not true. I mean, we do have to follow some guidelines, and there are important reasons to do that. I will tell you, the kids that that need us the most never figure this stuff out on their own. They just won't. And so
because they've not had good examples of that,
they
right?
Haven't.
That's why they're there.
It happens.
Right.
It happens. And so why not show them, what it looks like to disagree without being disagreeable? What about listening to what someone has to say? Find opportunities to give kids voice, that just makes sense in whatever your content is. I think another misconception, you asked about that, is that this is an elementary thing. And it's not a secondary thing. I absolutely disagree with that. When I do professional development with adults, we'll start out sometimes in a meeting format, and you would be surprised, even with adults, they are not insulted by that. And when we do go back to the more traditional seating for the rest of the training, it's interesting how much more discussion we get going because we started with putting people at ease and using a talking piece. People aren't insulted by that, and high school students won't be either.
Their initial response to a circle and a talking piece is that's probably the best way I can describe it. And they when we first did it, that's exactly what I got. But once within probably 5 minutes, the tone kind of changed.
When we talk about class circles, does that sound too elementary to you? You're high school.
I mean, maybe if you said like circle time or something like that, that sounds a little bit silly. But I wasn't even here the very first day that we did it. I was here the second time we did it, but seeing I could see the transition of after it happened, without even taking part of it, I could see that there was a difference in the communication that was made. And then participating in a second time, I was just shocked because I've never seen it before and everyone else was just so comfortable with it by this time. And so I was surprised when just the organization and the communication that happened because it was night and day compared to our old meetings.
It is an investment in time, but in the long run, it will save us time. There's no question, and it absolutely will make better citizens. In school, it is about the academic learning, but it's also about citizenry and the importance of continuing our democracy.
Judy Bruner, thanks for partnering with us on this.
you.
We're really excited about seeing this roll out very soon. So, a couple of reminders here for you related to this. If you haven't got ELN access in your school district yet, please be sure to click on the link in the description for this video, because we want to make sure that you take full advantage of the relationship that we have with the Illinois State Board of Education to provide access to all educators to ELN here in the state of Illinois. Also, be sure to get right on EdLeaders Network if you have access or are about to get access to check out these 3 courses from Judy Bruner on this very important topic of restorative practices. Lastly, if there's anything that IPA can do for you, never hesitate to give us a call or check us out on the web at www.ilprinciples.org. Take care.